It is 5:32, something we are keeping an eye on this morning. A partial government shutdown may just be hours away now. During a last-minute meeting at the White House, President Trump and congressional leaders failed to broker a deal. Doug Luzader joining us live now from Washington, D.C. this morning. And Doug, as we look at this, what are the chances of avoiding this shutdown?
We're expecting to see the Senate take another crack at this short-term extension later today, but Democrats are expected to block that, making a shutdown almost inevitable. Democratic leaders emerged from the West Wing of the White House yesterday, empty-handed and casting blame.
The government shuts down. It's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people.
About the only point of agreement, the meeting between the president and congressional leaders from both parties appeared to go nowhere.
Their hypocrisy is just breathtaking, and it's shameless, and it was on display in the Oval Office.
Republicans want a short-term deal that continues current funding as is while negotiations continue. Democratic leaders, under pressure to stand up to the president, are demanding more money for public broadcasting and a renewal of COVID-era health insurance subsidies. Both sides are taking a risk because voter anger can point in either direction.
Let me see something. What do they want?
Republicans want a short-term deal that continues current funding as is while negotiations continue. Democratic leaders, under pressure to stand up to the president, are demanding more money for public broadcasting and a renewal of COVID-era health insurance subsidies.
No. 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 No, 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 no. So wait a minute. The Democrats are asking, okay, see, I was looking to try to figure out, hey, is somebody being unreasonable? Is the left being unreasonable? Is the right being unreasonable? And the left want to continue all of these stations that's being subsidized by taxpayers in order to make sure that salaries is paid and that people continue to get money. And then they want COVID era incentives to continue to get, man, get the heck out of here, bro. No, 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 absolutely not. And see, this is why we can't come to no bipartisan agreement, because why should I agree with you doing something that ain't in alignment with what taxpayers want? Everything should be based off of what taxpayers want, not what Democrats want, not what Republicans want. No. And I heard about that too. They want health care for migrants. Why? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't even know nobody that need. No, bro. No, bro. No. That era is over. It's gone. It was quite profitable era for me, but that era is gone. It's not. Democrats, yo, honestly, I can't even understand why anybody is a Democrat at this point. What is it? What would make y'all say? What makes a person say? Because I know it's a lot of them. Listen, I know it's a lot of people that's Democrats. I know that, it's a lot of rhinos too, Republicans in name only, but in reality, you really a Democrat. You really a Democrat, especially people in my community. Why are y'all Democrats? Why are you a Democrat? I need to do a special show that asks people, why are you a Democrat? And I would like to hear, and I'm not even going to debate them. I just want to have a conversation. I'm genuinely curious. Why are you a Democrat? Why? And I know that people be afraid of me sometimes because they think that I'm going to go off on them. I was reading a comment from last night and they said, Anton, oh my God, why won't he hold Mercedes accountable? First of all, dog, you got to get out your basement and you got to go touch grass. All right. He always a lot. Why won't he hold her accountable? What? I don't need to hold anybody accountable. I reciprocate energy. I don't know if you understand this. I reciprocate energy. When somebody comes at me wild, then I reciprocate energy. Even if I disagree with you, if you are nice about it and you cool, I reciprocate energy. It was a girl on there last night that she had said some stuff that I didn't necessarily agree with. And it was my first time seeing her and meeting her. And I didn't come at her, and I don't come at people. I don't come at anybody at this point honestly, like even when me and the girl got into it last week, right? The weekend before last or the show before last on a Monday, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't go off. I didn't say any of this type of stuff. When they throw shots, I started gearing up and was like, okay, well then if you want to go shots, and that's how we gonna rock out. But I'm not holding anybody accountable. I'm having conversations based off of what was presented and the facts, right? And so I'm not looking to go off on anybody, but I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious why people are Democrats. What have they have never done anything for you. They have never done anything for you. I can't think of one thing, one policy, one situation, even when Democrats were less radical, even when they were less liberal, right? Back in the late 90s, 2000s, from 2000, let's say 2000 all the way up until, I don't remember when I was no longer liberal Anton, but let's say a decade, right? Let's say we give a decade of Anton being liberal Anton, a decade and a half. Let's go a decade and a half. Let's go 2000 all the way up to, or 2001 up to 2016. And let's say you were liberal Anton, but closer to the end of that you were fighting the liberal demons and you were coming into your own and realizing, you know what? I'm really not a Democrat. All of my values are conservative and they align with Republicans. So really, I'm a Republican. I can't think of, in a decade and a half plus of being an adult at 18 years old in 2000, all the way up until I actually changed and declared myself to be a Black Republican, I cannot remember one thing that any Democrat, any liberal, any person has ever done that benefited me in any way, shape, or form. Facts. Democrats in the 90s would be considered conservative now because they were saying all of the things that conservatives are saying now. I didn't even know why we didn't vote Republican. As crazy as that sounds, I didn't know. I couldn't tell you if you had asked me back then why I didn't vote, why we wouldn't vote Republican. I couldn't tell you. And you know how I know that we are stupid and ignorant in our decision making is because I remember back then, the only thing that I can think of is, well, I'm going to vote for Al Gore because he was with Clinton. I remember being on campus, student campus, and I was like, and I remember Bush winning, and I didn't trip about it. And I was like, because I didn't even know why I was voting that way. I just did it because that's what our family voted for. I was so dumb. I was ignorant. I was an idiot. I was a straight up idiot, bro. Eric D says Trump was a Democrat in the 90s. But that's the thing, though, Eric D, is because the 90s was saying the same thing. 90s Democrats were saying the things that Republicans are saying today. Close off the borders. Tariff Chinese countries. We need to be very, very careful of whether or not we are you know what I'm saying? All of that type of stuff. All of that. Like, go back and look at the videos. I played some of them. Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all of them. Close off our borders. We can't have illegal migrants into the country and all of this stuff. They were saying the same thing that Republicans are saying today, but it's radical today.
For public broadcasting and a renewal of COVID-era health insurance subsidies. Both sides are taking a risk because voter anger can point in either direction as shutdown signs begin popping up at government sites across the country. And ultimately, the president has some flexibility in how a shutdown rolls out. And there is already talk of permanent layoffs for federal workers.
One White House official told me that they are planning to, quote, inflict maximum pain on Democrats for this. So they are very bullish that they can come out the other side of this in a better position than their opposing party.
Yeah. Let me switch over real quick on what happens and how these rollouts and who's going to be affected, because that is information that I think that we all need. All right.
And we're just hours away from a potential government shutdown. A spending deal between Democrats and Republicans appears unlikely. Republicans are pushing for a short-term funding fix to keep the government running until November 20th. But Democrats are demanding a new bill that reverses cuts to Medicaid and prevents health insurance premiums from rising. The shutdown could have far-reaching consequences for Americans coast to coast. For more on this, let's bring in our ABC Business reporter, Alexis Christoforous. So, Alexis, let's go back in time. The last government shutdown was in December 2018 during the president's first administration. It was also the longest shutdown in U.S. history at 35 days. Back then, what were the economic impacts of the shutdown?
Yeah, Selena, you're right. So the longest shutdown in U.S. history was the most recent. It was a partial shutdown, and according to the Congressional Budget Office, it shaved 0.4% off of economic growth. Prior to that, we had a shutdown in 2013 that lasted 16 days. That was a full shutdown and actually caused economic growth to contract by 0.6%. So, the longevity of a shutdown is really key here, and whether or not it's partial or a full.
Because when people don't have no money to spend and they start staying home, it prevents, the circulation of the American dollar. When people got to stay home and they got to buckle up.
Shutdown, Selena.
Yeah, so Alexis, I know a lot depends on timing, and this time's a little bit different with these
Giving
potential
them
mass
free vacations.
firings. But this time around, what kind of economic impact could Americans expect to see?
Right, and that's what everybody's asking. How will it impact me? Well, we're going to run through a few of the ways it may impact you. I want to make very clear, though, that Social Security payments, Medicare and Medicaid payments will continue. So again, retirees and the disabled who are dependent on Social Security will continue to get paid, and those who are dependent on health benefits from Medicare and Medicaid will get paid. Now, the U.S. Postal Service is actually independent.
So Social Security, people on Social Security, they still gonna get their money. Medicare and Medicaid, they still gonna be funded. Postal Service is going to be, they're an independent agency that's dependent on the federal government. So they just ask for money when they continue to run out of money, and they ask for another stimulus package. I hate when people say, oh, the Postal Service is separate than the federal government. Postal Service ain't been profitable since I was born.
Independently funded, so it would not be impacted by a shutdown. And then, of course, those essential workers, U.S. military, border protection, air traffic control, and airport security workers will be on the job. However, they will be furloughed, meaning they will not be getting paid. They will get paid retroactively once the government reopens. This could mean delays if you're traveling in the not too distant future. At risk here, I want to run down these real quickly. National parks would most likely close, including any federally run museums, including the Smithsonian museums there in Washington, D.C. SNAP and WIC benefits. These are food programs that low-income and disabled folks depend on, also mothers with young children and infants. Those payments would continue, but they would fade the longer a shutdown continues. Also, passport processing will continue, but could experience big delays. You might also see delays in getting a small business loan or an FHA housing loan. And also really important here, Selena, the release of economic reports would be stopped by the U.S. government, meaning the Friday's big jobs report wouldn't be released. The inflation report due out later this month, depending on how long.
Jay Reed says, how long would a shutdown last? As long as it takes to get a deal. Could be 2 weeks, could be 3 days, could be a month.
The shutdown lasts would not be released. That leaves the Federal Reserve sort of flying blind when it comes to what to do with monetary policy and whether or not to cut interest rates at their October meeting. So I think the long and short of it is the longer it lasts, the more disruptive this government shutdown would become.
So Democrats and Republicans can't come to a bipartisan agreement to keep the government open. Democrats are asking for money when it comes to COVID era funding. Jesus Christ. Keeping NPR and public radio open and all of that stuff, even though nobody listens to it and nobody cares about it, so on and so forth.